in 6 women and 1 in 33 men will be a victim of sexual assault.
So now the voice is inside her head, telling her she should be better off dead. They're telling her she never stood a chance, and if she was gone, nobody would care. Thinking she's not beautiful, 'cause if she was, how could this happen to her?
Don't believe what they say. Don't believe what they say. Don't believe what the voices say to you. Don't believe what they say. Don't believe what they say. Don't believe what they say. Don't believe what the voices say to you.
It seems we're answering a lot of questions, or trying to answer a lot of questions, and one of the big ones is, do opposites attract? And let me explain this, and it's not going to be a real short explanation, but if I've been wounded in childhood, my core development emotionally does not mature. So I develop a pseudo-personality. And what happens in this pseudo-personality, I develop this pseudo so that if you meet me, hopefully you'll like me and won't reject me. So if a wounded man, and it's called Jekyll Hyde in domestic violence, but the pseudo-personality, a wounded man, will put the best foot forward because he doesn't want to be rejected by the woman that he has zeroed in on. She has probably been wounded, and he senses that but doesn't know how he senses it. It's something that we project, but it's not a conscious level thing. And she's got a pseudo-personality because she's been wounded. Now, I'll complicate this just a little bit more. If I have not had my parenting completed in childhood, then my arrested development, undeveloped core that's frozen will search for a mommy figure subconsciously. And if a woman has had a father-daughter glitch, like an absent father, an abusive father, a rigid father, that type of thing, then she knows what she's looking for in a man to complete childhood, not to pair up for a lifetime. So she will look for someone that can fulfill what her father didn't. So if things were tough at home, I want somebody, if I didn't have a father, I want somebody who's maybe clingy, a man who's clingy. So opposites seem to attract because we're wounded. And people really take that for granted, that's a true statement. Yeah, we are attracted to an opposite, but when the honeymoon is over and you're on with life, you've married the same profile as where you came from and what you hated. That's scary. See, and so in counseling, so much of the time, I work with men that married a woman who he was attracted to, maybe physically, but she ended up turning into his mommy, trying to change him, make herself safe, all those kind of things, and so she ends up mothering. So that tells us that in the software, in our limbic system, in the software, there's a mothering instinct that's natural, but there's not a wifing instinct. It's a learned thing. So if we then have been wounded in childhood, and he marries a woman that's been wounded, she does not know how to be a wife, she's never been trained to be a wife, and she will end up mothering him. And the same thing on the other side of it, if she is lacking in completion of the father thing in her life, she will see, again, as we've talked before, even abuse seems to be a strong man to a woman who's been raised familiar with that territory. So what we end up with is somebody just like who we didn't want, because we were looking at the pseudo personality, not the core personality that was undeveloped. See, and that really gets interesting in that dynamic. But it's all fixable, and that's what we do at Life Skills. We can take someone a man who married his mommy and didn't think he was, but he ended up that way, and we can reroute the wiring in the brain literally with knowledge and the way that we do things, to where he will start to see her as a wife, not a mommy. And that's why we like it when both come to Life Skills, because she will start to stay in a wife mode and not get into that mother mode trying to change him. So the hope is to get the right information, to understand your situation, and then the information and the way we teach the brain to process it brings us to a peace beyond our wildest imaginations. That's what this is about.
I was.
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 I was. I was.
I was.
I was.
I was.
I was.
I was.
I was.
I was. I was.
I was.
A woman is sexually assaulted every 2.5 minutes. Call 800-656-HOPE.
You have been listening to Arrested Development Ministry podcast. For more information, feedback, or to contact us, our email address is arrested.development.g51@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can look for us where you receive your podcast. Always remember, you may have been broken, but you are not beyond repair. Thank you for listening.